2. Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Getting around the National Football League all these years. It's only every 8 years that we see these guys come in here. Every 4 years we see them. I prefer when we get to go there than they come here. It's always nice to get out to Arizona. Glenn Bubba Parker lives out in the valley, as they say, doing University of Arizona stuff. And, of course, the Cardinals on Sundays. The Cardinals come here this weekend, and I don't know much about the Cardinals, but I know Glenn Bubba Parker. What's going on, partner? How's life, man? I understand the media trail has changed a little for you the last couple of years, huh?
It certainly has. You know what? Life is fantastic for me. Thank you, Nestor. You know, I slowed down. My two older daughters went off to play soccer in college. My younger son and daughter, they're twins. They were doing the football in the fall and the volleyball thing, and I said, you know what? My kids will never care if I called another football game on a Saturday if I'm not there for them. So I kind of gave up a lot of the media. I still work for the Cardinals on Sunday. I took a job at the University of Arizona helping them out, and I'm coaching at the high school. My son and daughter both go. So life could not be better, man.
Well, you know, for the Cardinals and for where they are and coming in here on the tie, I was looking for some media guys. I said, Bubba's still doing something out there. You know, you watch this on a year-by-year basis. This Ravens thing, Bubba, has changed dramatically, right? I mean, it goes from Flacco and the remnants of Ray Lewis that are left with Suggs to like a really different program. And everything they're trying to do, we need a little bit of a scorecard around here to do it. But I know Arizona's been the same thing the last couple of years in changing personnel on the backside of coaches.
Yeah, but you know what, though? You know, here's the thing. You know, the Ravens, you guys, it is such an incredible organization. They've done such a good job of staying the course and knowing who they are and making those changeovers the right way. Cardinals, you know, we really had things rolling, and I don't know what happened exactly. You know, Steve Keim's a great GM when he took over, and we had some winning, but just some of the pieces kind of started to fall apart, and really, I don't know where it went, but last year was so down and out for us, and and the prior year was not a lot better, and now this year, you know, we're hoping things kind of turn around. So they did the whole change. They brought in a whole new staff after 1 year. They sent Rosen packing, and they brought Kyler Murray in, and it's going to be remain to be seen. But I'll tell you what, it was a fun day. It sucks that it was a tie, but I can tell if you're an Arizona fan, it felt like a win. We were so far down. We looked so bad. We had 100 yards, I think, total offense going into that fourth quarter. And all of a sudden to turn around and get 200 yards and put those points on the board, go for two and tie it, and actually have a chance to win it in overtime. I mean, I know that the Lions left go, we lost that game. And the Cardinal fans and the people in that organization, we all sat there going, this felt like a win. This felt like a good win for us.
Well, and I guess that's the difference of expectations, right? I mean, look at the Cleveland Browns and what they went through over the weekend after expectations. We set these expectations for 8 months, all the pundits, all the offseason, all the drafting, who's going to play where, do we have the right coordinators, all that stuff. We talk about it for 8 months. Then you got to play for a couple hours on Sunday. You come back, and a lot of places get their feelings hurt, right? I don't know that your place is that place because I don't know anybody's expecting 13 wins this year, but they're expecting to see the program sort of turn around and go in a better direction.
Well, absolutely. And, and that's the thing. Okay, fans always expect the next year to be better. That's why we're fans, right? That's why people are fans. But here's the thing. The NFL, and I say this year in and year out to people all the time, is you don't know who anybody is until about week 8, 9, or 10. Because, first off, now they don't go to camp hardly at all. They go, but they don't do anything. So all of a sudden you start getting injuries pile up the first 3-4 weeks of the NFL season. And you're going to see all these upsets or not upsets, depending on how you look at it, right? And some teams, how many times have we looked at the first 5 weeks of the season and said, Patriots are done. This is the end for them. And, they show up and they win the Super Bowl.
Like we're doing with the Steelers right now, right? Because they got their asking, right?
And here's the thing. They don't practice that hard in the offseason. They don't practice, so there's a lot of injuries. The film is a 4-week cycle, so it takes 2 full cycles so everybody has enough film on it and they know who you are as a team. And then you can look at the NFL and go, all right, week 8, I got an idea, and by week 12, I know everybody's identity. But nobody knows anything before then. And I love, the pundits, this team do that, this team could do that. Like, come on, man, really? And how many times do you see an 8-0 team not, just get loose 4 in a row and kind of slide back into mediocrity? It happens. It's just one of those things, especially in the modern NFL. And the best thing they did was by putting the competitive games right, the last 2 weeks. Now we really know those last 2 weeks are good. So we got 8 weeks of knowing who people are. It's a lot of fun.
Glenn, Bubba Parker's been my friend for going on 20 years now, a former Ed Block Award winner as well as a multiple-time guy around Buffalo watching him play in January, and of course, with the New York Giants at the end of his football career. Man, you've been gone 20 years from the league, going on that now, and you come on, you yell about, there's no two-a-days, there's none of this stuff anymore, and the preparation of an offseason that you went through for a dozen years 2 decades ago versus where they are now, and what preseason represents. I mean, look, I'm a couple of weeks away from bitching about the preseason, Bubba, but I did a lot of it in August because I'm not really sure who it's good for. I mean, I don't feel like the owners are really making a whole lot of money. The players, they're not getting out and playing. The fans don't get what they're coming for, and these sort of backfield scrimmages that we had with Jacksonville, we had it with Philadelphia. That feels like what the coaches want to do. If you're commissioner for a day, how do you sort of get football players better ready to play football at this point? Because I don't know that they're doing themselves any favor by staying out of the building for 3 or 4 months at a time.
No, they're not. And so here's what. So there's a lot of levels to this. The players have done a very good job of making sure that careers are lengthened by taking the contact out of camp and out of the off season. But what it's done is young guys coming in who aren't as developed can't get the reps or the time with the coach to get better and make it in the league. So you're going to see vets stick around longer. We've already seen that. But you see the overall level of play drop because they're just not as physical of a game. And I'm just going to say this. I know multiple sources of the NFL have told me that were coaching in the NFL in the 90s when I was there, and they'll tell you straight up, the play in the 90s was such a level above what it is now, it's not even close. And when you look at the numbers at the combine, and there's the outliers, the guys that are super fast, super big. The average guy, just as big, just as fast as they are now. And yet they hit more, they went after each other more, they were, it meant more. Guys today, they can make so much money, it's easy to walk away from the game.
Well, and then there is that situation where a guy walks away from the game and Andrew Luck, and we boo him, and it's the gladiator part of what they want the fans to be, and they want it to be red meat and the WWE and all that. You sort of get that until, a guy can't walk, right?
Right. And listen, I applaud Andrew Luck. You have to know when it's your time. Just like fans can't tell someone when to retire because they don't want his image tarnished, because you know what, you're the only guy that can tell yourself when to retire. Me, I kind of knew I was ready. My wife told me I was ready. but you can't. You're the only guy that gets to do that. So Andrew Luck took it in his own hand. Fans on one hand say, you need to leave, you've tarnished your image, you got to go. But on the other hand, they say, well, why did he leave so early? What a wimp. He shouldn't have done that. He needs to be a gladiator. But you can't have it both ways. And I understand the players. They're making enough money to not have to have those problems that so many of us, my teammates, my friends, are suffering from right now.
Glenn, Bubba Parker played 12 years in the National Football League. He's out in the Valley. The Cardinals are coming to town with Kyler Murray. And another guy that I think this guy's been, as long as there's been Cardinals, as I know, Larry Fitzgerald. You look up, you see a box score, 8 receptions, 113. What's he, about 45 years old now? He's as old as his dad, who I see every year at the Super Bowl.
Let me ask you, are you in shock that he did that?
No, not at all, because I saw Steve Smith here a couple years ago, and I think that Tom Brady's 42 and chucking the ball around on Sunday night. I mean, if you can do it, you can do it, I think.
Yeah. The guy is just a machine. And he's first off, he's a better person than he is a football player. And that's rare these days. Better person than he is a football player. He moves positions throughout his career in order to accommodate not only other players, but then his age and the systems they want to run. And no matter where they put him in or what they do with him, he excels. He's the guy. Put it this way, when he drops a pass, if something hits him in the hands and he drops it, even if it probably is still a tough catch, you go, wow, he dropped the ball. That's how exceptional he is. When that exception to him always catching it, no matter what, is the one you remember. It's just unbelievable what a phenomenal football player this guy is.
Bubba, when I think about you playing with Hall of Famers, I mean, you had a bunch of them around you in Buffalo and Winners, and you went on the Giants, had a bunch of them as well at the end of your career. And then you see where we are with Tom Brady. I mean, I talk about this every year at the Super Bowl because he's in the Super Bowl every year. But the fact that, like, your career goes back and sort of intersects with the beginning of his, and we're talking 20 years later, and he's still the best. I mean, keeping quarterbacks upright and not having them beaten up the way Andrew Luck has been during his career, that is the differentiator. But there's so many differentiators with Belichick and what they're doing with that program up there.
Well, listen, Belichick's been, it's about, so free agency came in 93, 94, and people started to really understand the ramifications of it in 95 in the NFL. He was, the Jets, Browns thing for a heartbeat. When he takes over those Patriots, he understands what it all means. Now, remember, he's a scout at heart. Father's a scout, he's a scout, so he understands how it is to scout players. He's done better than anybody at understanding what it is you're scouting for within the NFL with the parameters of a salary cap and free agency, and understanding how do you mitigate losses on one end with gains on the other. And he does that better than anybody. And no one has figured it out yet, and I don't understand why. It's understanding that, you don't chase superstars. You let superstars fall to you. Tom Brady was a pick by a quarterback coach that unfortunately had passed away, and he said, that's the guy you want, a sixth-rounder. They grabbed him in the sixth round because one guy in his staff said, that's the guy, trust me. And they got him, and they're not letting him go. But, okay, a guy like, Antonio Brown falls to them. They don't chase him. You sell to them. That's what they're brilliant at, getting rid of people before they cost too much, and grabbing people when they're a bargain.
You were a no-nonsense guy, still are. What do you make of the antics of Antonio Brown as a guy who, put shoulder pads and tied your shoelaces in a locker room with maybe some guys you agree with, don't agree with, but there are very few lines where the team is versus where you are and what you're going to get away with?
Yeah, and he's going into a tough locker room. He's either going to make it or he isn't. The thing is, I think he's one thing that's changed from when I played, it's the brand. Guys nowadays, I've got my name and my brand. I've got my Twitter handle. I've got my social media. I've got this. And that becomes, I'm going to be Instagram famous. And listen, we see it at all levels and all ages. 15-year-olds are trying to build their brand. You look on scouting, you're like, really? You're trying to build your brand as a 17-year-old cornerback out of some prep high school in Montana? But these kids, they grow up that way. So he is just a product of all of that crap, and pardon my language. So but at the end of the day, you walk into a locker room, you got to win, you got to produce, you got to shut your mouth, and that's why Pittsburgh was happy to let him go. And I think the Raiders, I think they thought they could do this rehab project on him, and going to walk in, and anybody who's been in Belichick's locker room, it's you're going to settle in, you're going to do the way Tom Brady wants you to do things, or you're gone.
It's interesting to me to look at the roster that Arizona comes in here, and obviously with a quarterback they believe in who's young, they're playing. They said they had one last year that we saw the other day in Miami and Josh Rosen. Then I look over, I see Chandler Jones. You talk about Belichick guys, Terrell Suggs, who's come back out there. I want to talk to you about that. Michael Crabtree, who was here. Max was. You got a lot of guys that are coming back here that I know a little bit. Some thoughts about where the program is and what they're expecting when they're signing a Terrell Suggs. And I think everybody here was shocked that he actually went out there and wanted to go home and play a little bit before his career was over.
Well, I think they're expecting a guy who can come in situationally and get to the quarterback. He had 2 sacks that first game, so he's certainly getting it done. I think he's obviously a guy they know is limited by his age and by what he can do on the field, but I think it was a good signing for them in the fact that they've lost so many people on that D line over the last few years, Calais Campbell being a big one, and so they had to find ways to bring in talent. And last year was such an anomaly within the Cardinals organization with a coach that only stood 1 year. You don't see that. You don't see that in in football. You don't see that in the NFL. And so it was kind of, I think they realized, hey, we got to get some things going. We got to figure this out. And it's kind of a wait and see now at this point to see where it heads. I think they're going to give Cliff Kingsbury some time. They're going to say, hey, you brought in this quarterback. We've let this happen. Let's see where we go. And I think they're willing to build for a few years around.
Well, what do you make of the Kingsbury? Just as an aside, I mean, we had John Harbaugh here dead to rights last November. He was going to leave. We were going to have a new program. We have John Harbaugh. When I saw some of the hirings in the offseason, I thought to myself, yeah, that's why you want John Harbaugh, because no offense to Matt LaFleur or any of the young guys that are getting hired, you want to know what you got, and I don't know that anybody really knows what they have in Kingsbury, right?
I think you're absolutely right. It was a stretch, and I looked at it and went, what?
What?
He didn't do great at Texas Tech. How's he going to do it in the NFL? But there's this feeling in the NFL of you're either old school or you're this new cutting edge. And so Sean McVay, with his success, everyone wants a Sean McVay, and they want someone who's kissed the ring of Sean McVay. And so if you're kind of in that mold, that's what they're going to grab. Now, that doesn't mean he can't coach, because I liked what I saw on Sunday, that fourth quarter. I did not like what I saw the first three quarters. I loved what I heard out of Cliff Kingsbury after that game. He said, this one's on me. I got too cute. I put too much in this week. I thought I could do all these things and get away from what we know we do best. And what we had to do was just settle down and do our bread and butter, and let's see if it works. And it did work. They put a lot of points on the board and tied the game and had a chance to win. So I like hearing that from a coach. He's humble enough to say, listen, that was on me completely in his first NFL game.
Well, it certainly wasn't looking good 3 quarters in, right? I mean, you lose it 24-6. You're thinking this is 0-1. To your point, snatching a tie out of the jaws of defeat. They come in here with, feeling pretty good about the way they played at the end of the game, right?
Absolutely they do. They've got to have confidence. They did everything they needed to do towards the end of the game. They had given up sacks like crazy. Not all on the offensive line. Of course, they had an injury to Gilbert on the offensive line, so they brought in, I think, Jordan Mills, and they've got a couple other guys. But it's kind of one of those things that they were good up front. They were decent up front. Remember when Murray is sitting to scramble, he runs out of bounds for a 2-yard loss. That's that. So there was those kind of things going on. After that, there was not a lot of pressure. Murray was delivering dimes where they had to be, and his wide receivers were getting out there and grabbing them. I mean, there's a couple grabs, one by Larry Fitzgerald in particular on an out route about 40 yards down the field. It's just they looked like it was a different team altogether. And if they can do that for 4 quarters, then watch out, because remember, there's David Johnson coming down at you. And if you can run spread enough and have David Johnson where he's one-on-one, where he's going through gaps and safeties have to make a hit or a corner has to make a hit, he's going to have a lot of yards.
Bobby, you talk about how unorthodox it is to hire Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, we've gone completely unorthodox here with an RPO. It looks like Navy sometimes out there, but it's a whole lot more exciting than that when the quarterback can throw the football the way he did last year. What we saw last year, which was a quarterback playing bumper cars 15, 18, 20 times a game with linebackers, that's not sustainable. Last week, takes on contact 6 times. Only runs 3 times, didn't have to against the JV down there in Miami. It's going to change a little bit. But if I said to you, hey, like they said to Marshall Yanda last year, hey, we're going to do this completely differently. We're going to run the football and have a completely different style of offense here. That's a sell to veteran football players that there's been a buy-in around here as well, right? And players buy in with their eyes when they believe. Right?
Everybody wants to say that, right? Everybody wants to say. I remember well, the RG3s of the world. I remember, Michael Vick, and remember Randall Cunningham. They did it for a while. But when things catch up to you, they don't want to do it anymore. Cam Newton is a perfect example of a 6'5", he's 250-pound guy, at least, thick and big. And after 1 year said, I'm not running anymore. I'm not getting hit anymore. Guys in the NFL are too big and too fast. And Kyle Murray, I'm telling you right now, I think he learned real quick, when the speed of the real NFL game, that first game happened, he realized, whoa, I am not really fast compared to these guys. And he made some good moves to get out of trouble, but he also got caught, and he got rid of the ball, and he did some things. So that type of football, I'm not sure how long we're going to see Lamar Jackson doing that.
Well, Bubba, it was counterintuitive. I mean, the whole sport is designed to not have your quarterback get touched, to have your quarterback seek contact. It really is counterintuitive in every way to everything we've seen all our lives.
Well,
I think,
especially
right?
when you got $40 million, $100 million going towards one position, and you only got 53 guys on your roster. That's really counterintuitive. That's taking your biggest asset and putting it in harm's way. I'm not sure that's a good thing.
Bubba, we will see your team come in here this week. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself out there, right? I mean, you weren't having enough fun eating all that food, drinking all that wine. I see you on TV.
I'm still doing all that.
Oh, you are?
All that, but I'm coaching football and having fun.
Well, that's all that's important, and I'll get out to the desert. We'll get some spring training baseball in before it's all over. Really appreciate you taking a call and being a friend all these years, man. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, Nestor. Thank you, man. Have a great one.
Glenn Bubba Parker, one-time friend and foe of the Buffalo Bills. He came in here as a New York Giant, as of course an Ed Block Award winner many, many years ago, and of course back in the 90s. Back we were all younger, better looking. Glenn Bubba Parker joining us, doing some stuff with the Cardinals on weekends, as well as doing stuff out there in Arizona, where my cousin played tennis out in Tucson. You can find me out on the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. We are Baltimore Positive. We're at Jennings Cafe with Sarah Heminger this week on Thursday, Friday with Ben Jealous at State Fair. Then next week on Thursday, City Council President Brandon Scott will join us down at Fadley's for a crab cake at Lexington Market. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, anywhere the internet flows. And, of course, Facebook Live and our YouTube WNST TV channel. Any breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Kuntz Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST, now heard on Thursdays from 3 until 5. I'll be checking in the 4 o'clock hour as well. Football all weekend, lots of stuff going on around here. And Nick Boyle joining us at Adams Jeep on the 30th, swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry, and for There Goes My Hero. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.